Hello, and welcome to the Scott Mize Show, a podcast focused on health, diet, bodybuilding, and philosophy. I interview experts, doctors, coaches, and N=1 case studies to answer your questions about improving health, achieving your best physique, and making sustainable progress. We'll cover topics from carnivore and ketogenic diets to bodybuilding to life philosophy and everything in between. Enjoy the show. This episode is brought to you by LMNT Electrolytes. This month, we're switching it up with an exclusive offer that's only for VIP LMNT partners, including Carnivore Cast listeners. You can now receive this free sample pack along with any regular purchase when you use my custom link, which is provided in the show notes or my Instagram link in bio. That's drinklmnt.com/carnivorecast, all one word. And as I said, I'll include the link in the show notes. LMNT Electrolytes are convenient, evidence-based, and delicious, and get yours today to help support the show. Thank you. This is a quick disclaimer before we start the show. This show is for entertainment purposes only. Nothing said here should be taken as medical advice, and please consult with your physician before making any changes to your diet, exercise regime, or medications. Thank you, and on to the show. Zade Raslan at IFBB Pro _Zade_King is an IFBB Pro bodybuilder and 2023 USA National Champion in light heavies. He's also a frequent guest on the Fit Nation podcast, my favorite bodybuilding podcast with lots of famous and goofy bodybuilders. Definitely check it out if you haven't. And Zade is also a coach and trainer himself with years of experience helping lifestyle clients. Welcome to the show, Zade.
Thank you, Scott. Thank you so much for having me on, bro. Appreciate it.
Yeah, of course. I've really enjoyed listening to you on Fit Nation and learning about you. I think you have some great perspectives. And what I'd love to start with,
to hear.
Yeah, definitely. What I'd love to start with, because you've got the background, is who's your favorite bodybuilder and why? And maybe what have you learned from following him?
If you can tell, it's Jay Cutler. But I'm sure most people can, by now. Honestly, because Jay is just an overall package for me. He's an incredible athlete. He did it the best to ever do it, to be honest, on a high level. Won 4 Olympia titles, great physique, great personality. You never see one person that says bad thing about Jay. That always motivated me to kind of look up to him in a certain way. He's kind of like... he's just positive. He's just the champion who's always positive. He did a lot for our industry. He's still in the industry. I think one of the main things why I looked up to him is because he was such a standout as a teenager, and now that he's retired, he's still involved in the industry, and he's one of those people that did bodybuilding, competitive bodybuilding, in a healthier way. He doesn't have any injuries. He got out of the sport on his own terms. I don't think he was pushed to retire, but he retired on his own terms. Still has great physique, great health, tons of popularity. I feel like literally he's the GOAT because he did bodybuilding on and off the stage pretty correctly, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, I look up to Jay a lot. He just seems like such a friendly and humble and giving human being in everyone who talks about him and who's interacted with him. And it's so apparent from his social media as well.
Yeah. And one of the things I really admire about Jay is he's not afraid to motivate and inspire the upcoming generations. He knows his time has come and gone, and he's now looking for the next champions in line. He's not stuck in his era. He's moving forward. He's helping the other generation to come up. You know what I mean? It's not about him anymore, but he's still in the industry helping amateur bodybuilders, helping people who are aspiring to be at his level.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's a really good point. I think it kind of started with him being like a big brother, mentor, friend to Phil Heath. I think that's one of the coolest things. Comes through a little bit in the Phil Heath documentary, if you've seen it. But even more so in some videos he's done and some interviews he's done, like how close they were, how much he helped him, how he really was so emotionally invested in him, and like even when he lost to him, he was like
Exactly.
handing
That
over the
speech,
torch.
man, it's probably one of the best losing speeches I've ever heard.
Yeah,
Like, I've never seen someone so excited to hand over the crown to somebody else.
yeah,
That was so like class act, man. You know what I
yeah,
mean?
absolutely.
I appreciate the sportsmanship in him. He's really nice to his competitors.
Yeah, class act is great
Yeah.
word for it. And so I want to talk a little bit about your background, Zade. Where did you grow up? What was your childhood like, and what eventually brought you to LA?
Well, it all started honestly when I was in Syria. I was born and raised in Syria, and when I was a teenager, right after high school, I graduated from there and I moved to Europe, to England, and I spent a few years there before I came to the US at 19 years old.
Oh wow.
And initially, I just wanted to find myself, to be honest. I knew I wanted to leave Syria for better opportunities, but I wasn't sure what the opportunity is. I just knew I had a huge passion for bodybuilding and I had a huge passion for physics. So I knew I would want to be somewhere within those two fields, either in fitness or in the science field, like theoretical physics,
Oh,
applied
cool.
physics, which I was for 3 years in college. I did go register in school. That's how I was able to get to the US as a student with an F1 visa.
Oh, okay.
But then down the road, this didn't pan out too much or too well for me. So I had to like take a decision and go on to bodybuilding full time. And that's when I fully committed, you know. I'm kind of jumping chapters, but it all started when I was 16 years old and I moved out of my home country just for better opportunities. And the first trip was to England, uh, kind of grow up there, learn how to be independent. Luckily, I come from a wealthy family, so growing up, I didn't do much. Everything was kind of like I had the opportunity to be able to get handed, but once I left, I had to grow up. If that
Mm.
makes sense, I had to learn how to be alone, learn how to cook your meals, clean your clothes, be independent completely. No car, you have to ride in the bus. So it was kind of like a great few years just to grow up and learn how to be a man, you know?
Did you move to Europe on your own or with your family?
On my own,
Oh
totally
wow.
alone. Yeah, yeah. Literally, as a teenager, just moved there just for better opportunities. At the time, I had a girlfriend, so she was going to school there. That's why I was choosing England because of
Okay.
her. But later on, once we separated, I learned that, hey, there's no reason for me to be here anymore. Let me just take it to that next level. I want to go somewhere sunny. And with putting two and two together, I figured LA is the best part because it's the capital of bodybuilding and health and fitness, Venice Beach, California. And it's extremely sunny. So I applied, I got into school, and I jumped on the first plane that led me, basically.
Wow. And did you start bodybuilding when you were in Syria? And what brought you to bodybuilding initially?
Yeah, I did start training when I was 15 years old. We had
Wow.
a home gym, and I always like trained in the home gym that we had. Literally the only person who probably used that gym. And my passion started growing for getting stronger and just getting in a better shape. I was on the soccer team and the basketball team and the rugby team in high school. So it was always helpful to hit the weight room to get better. But initially was my goal was just to get stronger. And when I joined the gym, I got pretty strong very quickly, actually. And then at 19, 20, 21, I was powerlifting. Not on any sort of like competition or anything, but I was powerlifting in terms of style of training. I was doing heavy deadlifts, heavy squats, heavy bench. I squatted actually 600 pounds when I was 19 for
Wow.
2 reps. Yeah. But after that, I thought about like, what's next? More numbers. It's probably gonna break my back. So it was just a matter of time until you hurt yourself.
Yeah.
I truly took a step down just so I don't want to get hurt. And this is when I started training as a bodybuilder and looked up into like how Jay trained at the gym where I first started. There was a huge poster of him when he was 19. So that inspired me a lot to start
Cool.
to kind of dig into the magazines. I used to buy a lot of muscular development magazines, learn some workouts, you know, and basically took it from there just to learn bit by bit how to train as a bodybuilder. And
Cool.
then at 23, I did my first show, and the rest is history, basically. You know,
Yeah. How old are you now?
I just turned 32 last month.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you've been competing for a while.
Yeah. I've done 17 contests.
Wow.
Yeah. 17, dude. I can't believe it's this much. Sometimes, because, I always look up to the European pros, Milos specifically. He's done like 72 shows as a professional. So these kind of high numbers inspire me to compete. I really love to compete. Once I'm in shape, I try to get the opportunity of doing multiple shows. It's funny fact because this is the first time I sit out from a competition in the last 11 years.
Wow.
For 11 years, I haven't stopped competing. This is my first year off not competing, you know?
Is that hard for you mentally?
No, because originally my goal was to turn pro. I achieved that goal, so now there's no reason to continue go 120 miles an hour when it comes to competing. Now the game has changed. Even if I compete, I wouldn't do good because I'm undersized. So I have to kind of like take some time off and grow that real pro level muscle.
Yeah.
You know?
Makes sense. And talk about your last prep for USA's. What was it like? The good, the bad, what you learned, and maybe comparing it to other preps you've done.
I mean, this final prep that I've done was probably my favorite personally, because not because it ended with a win, but because honestly, it's the first time ever I trained in an angry manner. What I mean by that is a little bit backstory. Before first, I was second place. Last year, I was second place. I mean, the year before, I was second place at nationals. You know, so not the NPC Nationals, but the Amateur Olympia, which is also a pro qualifier.
Oh,
So I
okay.
missed my pro card by one spot.
Wow.
And the attempt before it, I was third, and the time before it, I was fourth, and the time before it, I was seventh. So I climbed up basically one spot each time
Wow.
around. So going from second to first was the hardest level up I had to do, and I was fed up with seconds, man. So I was training in a very different manner where my mind didn't believe that I could lose the show anymore. I
Wow.
did pay my dues, and I was just going for it with probably zero doubt. First time ever, I kind of felt like this. No way, I'm losing this time.
Yeah.
And I attacked it in a different mentality. It was awesome to train with no doubt. I trained with two people that pushed me to be my best. My nutritionist, Brad Rowe, he did my nutrition part and my chemicals. And Doug Fucci, which is another IFBB pro, he helped me with my posing and with training in the gym physically.
Cool.
So yeah, both of these gentlemen basically pushed me to my absolute max to just get that muscle density as much as possible before the show. And then after that, it became a matter of when can I make the weight? Because I don't know if you know, I was 220 pounds and I had to make weight at 198.
Jeez.
So I
Wow.
had to, the last month and a half, I had to like take out the carbs and fats completely to
Wow.
be able to be weigh in and under 200 pounds. And before weigh-ins, I actually sat in the sauna for 3 hours.
Oh my God.
Just to be able to make weight and compete as a light heavy. Yeah, and we did it, carved up just fine, and we were able to pull the win, dude. Not
Yeah.
the overall, but the class win was undecisive. I got straight ones from all the judges, so that felt really good, man. And that's why now I'm focused on that next level size because I definitely need it in the pro ranks.
Yeah, you looked incredible. And I'm curious, why did you decide to push down to light heavies? Like I've heard, I don't know, I just did my first show, so I know very little about the amateur level. But what I've heard is like light heavies is the most competitive. So if you were already at the weight for heavies, why didn't you stay there?
Because to be honest with you, there's no reason to change classes when I'm second place. Last attempt, I was second place. So one spot away from being a pro. Changing into a different class, it's not a big deal. By the way, I've won local competitions as a heavyweight. The Los Angeles Championship, I won that as a heavyweight. The San Diego Championship, I won that as a heavyweight. But only for USA's, I had to cut down. And for the national shows, just to get that first place spot secured, I was already second place. It didn't make sense to do heavies at USA's because I'm already second place. If I'm pro worthy, I'm gonna face these guys anyway at the pro level. So there's nobody I'm really running away from.
Yeah.
And I just got into it, dude, and made weight by miracle. And just got, made the weight, won the class. Just so you know, I ended up beating the heavyweight champion, so it didn't matter at the end.
Yeah,
because the guy who won the heavies, I think I beat him. They don't really tell you, to be fair.
Yeah, the overall scores.
Overall, there's no overall scores. But from the feedback that I got from the judges, it seemed like it was me and the super heavyweight winner, which is Joe Palacios. Yeah. So that was the reasoning. I was second place. There's no reason to switch classes if you're right there.
Yeah, makes sense. And what made you decide to go? Like, how did you decide which national show to do? Because the year before you said you did the amateur O, and this year you said you did nationals. So how did you decide on nationals?
The year prior, I did all of them.
Oh,
so that year I won, I also wanted to do all of them, and USA's basically is the first national show of the year.
Got it.
Yeah. That's in the summer. There is amateur Arnold in March, but that was way too early.
Okay.
I needed the first show in the summertime, and then it goes like this: USA's, then North Americans, then amateur Olympia, then nationals.
Got it.
So I started with the first one, and luckily I got it from the first one because I was willing to continue.
Yeah. Amazing.
Which also makes a fun fact. This is the first time I did one show a year last year.
Oh, really?
I never done a one show a year.
Yeah.
It was always 3-4 shows,
One and
that
done.
one because one and done, exactly. Yeah.
That's
finally.
Cool.
Yeah.
And you talked about Brad Rowe, and I'm sorry, who is the trainer who helped you in the gym as well?
Douglas Fruche.
Yeah. Okay, Fruche. Yeah. And how long have you been working with each of them, and how did you decide on them as your coaches?
Well, I've been following the sport for the better part of 2 decades, so I did know already about Brad Rowe. He was an IFBB Pro as well. He goes to Goals Venice, and he's local where I live, and he's an Olympian. And I always wanted to start with a coach and not hop between coaches. I don't like to hop between coaches. Pick your coach, stick with them for a while. Unless something goes wrong, you should be able to do just fine. So that's what I wanted. I wanted to someone I clicked with, and someone that is actually knowledgeable. So I went with Brad. He's really, really scientific about things, and he has extensive knowledge about bodybuilding and pro bodybuilding, how to turn pro. And one thing that did make me choose him over the other people is because Brad and I, we share some similar genetics. We're both same height. We're both very leg dominant. We're both with like smaller chest, smaller arms. So his weaknesses were my weaknesses. His strengths were my strengths. So it helped me a lot to find a coach that's kind of resembles similar genetics to me, so he can teach me the tricks and ins and outs of how to kind of overcome your weakest body part. What can you do to help your physique? What can you do? everything he learned, I probably soaked up from him, you know. And now it's been 5 years since I've been working with him. 4 years, 4.5 years. So we did some really good shows, bro. There's
That's amazing.
absolute no regret. And Douglas is one of the friends of my friend, and he recommended to go to him just to train harder. You know, I wanted someone who is like way bigger than me, way more advanced than me, to push me in the gym with heavy weights. You know, which he did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So I just went out to Venice Beach, literally looked for him on the floor, introduced myself, and I told him I would like to hire you for a couple of training sessions. And this is when Douglas and I got started. You know,
Cool. And what has your training approach been, and how has it changed over the years?
I'm more of a high volume guy. I like a lot of sets with a lot of reps.
Okay.
Uh, I do like to throw in, uh, some really heavy 6 to 8 rep, 6 to 8 rep sets here and there, low volume. But majority of my training is more towards high volume, and I truly believe high volume with high reps builds more details in the muscles.
Mm,
You know,
yeah.
yeah. So it's if you ask me personally, like now that I'm on this side, there's no right or wrong answer. You need both. Honestly, you need the low volume and you need the high volume. It's just a matter of what body part do you want to apply, which style. I feel like legs and back, they're better with low volume, more heavier weights. Chest, shoulders, tricep, bicep, calves work better with higher volume.
Yeah.
Smaller muscle group, I feel like they need uh, more repetition. Yeah. I'm not shy to learn from anyone. So that was always my mindset. Always keep an open mind to learn from whoever. So you just keep mixing the pot until you see what works for you, you know?
Yeah.
And high volume works pretty good for me, you know. So I'm sticking by it for now.
And some people say that like you can't train both high volume and high intensity. Like if you train with 20 sets per muscle group, you can't take every set to failure. And like Jay didn't really train to failure. Phil Heath didn't really train to failure. Do you believe in that, or do you think it's possible to do both together?
Of course, it's possible. And at the end of the day, like, honestly, I think it boils down to your genetics.
Mm,
Some people, no matter what they did, they're going to grow.
yeah.
Some people, they need to be more intricate with the selection of exercises and stuff like that. But for the top elite Olympians, dude, we cannot really look at them and say, hey, this works for him, maybe it works for me.
Yeah.
These are like literally the best of the best. Yeah, we can try to have some guidelines from them, but I wouldn't go to like someone like Phil Heath and ask him what he did for his arms and try to apply it to my arms, because you
Yeah.
know what I mean. Genetically, he's way superior. I feel you can do both. Depends on the workout, and I feel like giant sets are a really good way to not lift a ton of weight, but still tax the muscle with high intensity, which is why I like Milos's type of training. He does a lot of giant sets. Maybe it's not the heaviest, but man, will make that muscle expand and grow. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was one of my favorite parts of the Phil Heath documentary, was like him talking about how like he's like, yeah, so I went and did a show and I won, and then I did some more shows and I won, and it's just like his genetics were insane. He had like barely started training for like 6 months and he was like winning all these shows. It's crazy.
Yeah. Dude, who quits basketball and wins the USA in the same summer? That's insane. People like, I don't know if you know, winning the USA from the first time out is like really damn impressive.
Yeah.
It's the best in the country. So if you can just walk in there and blew everyone out of the water and you're from a total different sport,
Yeah.
that's just, that's just God given talent. And then towards the end, he applied his work ethic and fucking had a domination for 7, 8 years.
Yeah.
You know?
I have a lot of respect for Phil.
Yeah, me too.
How hard do you have to diet and cardio? Obviously, like it's probably pretty extreme when you have to make the weight for your last show. But in general, how intense is dieting and cardio for you?
Very intense, very, very intense. Honestly, this is where it brings out the real champion out of yourself. This is how you know if you can hang as a bodybuilder or not.
Mm.
You know, no carbs, no fats for days on end. Uh, you know, your body fat is low. There's no planned cheat meals or anything like that. I do stairs for cardio. I do no holding on. I don't know if you know this, but
Yeah.
I preach all the time to when you do stairs, do not hold on to the machine.
Yeah.
You
I
have
agree.
to actually work your legs, work your body. So 2 hours of cardio a day, no holding on the stairs, plus no carbs, no fats.
Wow.
That is like freaking as worse as it gets, you know? But we did get the job done. I was definitely the most shredded person on that USA stage.
Yeah.
And can't wait to do it again, dude. If I can repeat the same condition with 20, 25 pounds of muscle in a few years, that would be stellar. I think I can crack the top 10 or maybe top 8 in the pro debut.
Yeah, I believe you can. Absolutely. And one thing you've talked about a lot on the podcast, and some of the other guys kind of give you flack for it, but I think it's really cool, is you have this more long-term and sustainable approach, and more like broader mindset to bodybuilding, which I think is lacking a lot in today's age, with everyone wanting to, get their pro card tomorrow and blast 2 grams of tren and blah blah blah. Like, how did you come to that mindset? And can you talk about your approach and like even get practical with it? Like, what are you doing this off season differently?
This off season is my first off season ever because I had time between shows. I didn't really have off season. I just had time between shows, literally. So it was just a matter of when I'm going to compete again until I turn pro, right? I appreciate your compliment on the long-term plan thing. I did recognize as I was a teenager that I'm really good at long-term goals. I don't know why, but for some reason, I have an ability to set my mind to a goal I want 2, 3 years from now and plan out backwards. What's the goal and see what's required to achieve that goal and kind of reverse engineer it. I feel like, honestly, man, this helped me a lot right now because I do want to last in this sport. I love bodybuilding. I love competing. I want to compete until I'm in my 40s. You know, to do this the right way, if I really mean what I say, I truly need to apply this in my 20s and my 30s, meaning I cannot act like an idiot and go crazy with the chemicals or go crazy with the training just to achieve something that could be great in a year or two, but then it will be my downfall. Again, same thing as Jay Cutler. I really look up to him in all other aspects. Look at his career. He had long, extensive, healthy career. He was top 2 in the world for 12 years in a row. That's pretty impressive. To me, this matters to me more than winning itself. You can win a show and then people forget about you. But if you had a long, extensive career, you won a few shows along the way, you probably make more impact. And to add to this conversation, when I was younger, I was influenced a lot by Boston Lloyd, honestly, and I used to do crazy amount of dosages, but not knowing that more gear is not going to result in faster muscle growth. It's just going to be you playing the game that we're in, the respect of you got to wait. You can't get huge when you're 22. Like expect that muscle densities, muscle roundness that somebody else might have. You know, I had to learn that, okay, I have good genetics, but I don't have fast genetics. What does that mean? Means like I'm not gonna have very big physique right away. I can achieve a big physique, but I gotta do the proper steps, you know? And I did try the crazy dosages, and I told you I couldn't sustain them, and it didn't do much for me, to be honest. I got like good results, but not the results that I was taking. I thought I would be getting from the dosages I was taking, you know? So kind of had to do it to know it's not the right way. And I only lasted 2 to 3 weeks on those super mega dosages, you know? And then I had to learn that, okay, it's not really the high dosages. You need to eat more, you need to train harder, you need to wait. This is bodybuilding. Not every one of us is like Phil Heath is going to quit one sport, jump on the stage and win the USA. It's not going to happen like that. Some people are elite. They can do that. That's amazing. But most of us cannot do that. You need to fucking pay your dues and actually show us that you're passionate about bodybuilding. You have to be consistent, show up time and time again, listen to the judges' feedback, and take it from there, man. You know?
Yeah, I think that's so awesome because so many bodybuilders are like, yeah, if I don't do this year, I'm done. Or if I don't, make it to this level this year, I'm done. Or, I'm definitely going to get out by my early 30s or 35 at the latest. And it's really cool to hear your passion for the sport and your love for it and you wanting to make it something sustainable that you can do for years and years into your 40s. I think that's really commendable and really cool.
Thank you. And like I said, Jay was my person to look up to doing that, you know? And I'm just inspired how he has a healthy retirement, man.
Yeah.
This speaks volume, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
He's 51 this year, you know? And looking like that at what, 250, 255, admirable, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I told you I just did my first show like a week and a half ago, and I'm 31, so I'm definitely late to the game. Really started training for bodybuilding like 2 or 3 years ago,
That's
and
awesome.
I want to do it for several years. So
Yeah.
I'm of a
How was your
very similar mindset.
experience for the first time?
It was amazing. It was so much fun. I was a competitive lightweight rower in college, and before that in high school, and I love competing. And I haven't competed in anything physical since then. So it's been like 10 years. And I enjoyed the process. I enjoyed the prep. I knew I would get a lot from that personally in terms of mental, spiritual, emotional development. But I kind of saw the stage as just like a thing that happens at the end. But I absolutely loved the show itself. It was so much fun. I got to get judged by Steve Weinberger. I got to compete with some really good top level competitors. And I had 12 people, family and friends there to support me. So I felt all the love and support, and I had a great time.
That's awesome. Where's the next one?
Well, I qualified for nationals, but I'm nowhere near ready to compete at that level. So I know I need another at least a year, maybe two, before I step back on stage. But maybe I'll do a show in like May next year, and then try to go to a national show from there if I'm ready. If not, I'll take another year. I know I need at least a solid like 10 to 15 pounds of muscle to be really competitive.
Yeah, well, that's a good plan. Very good plan. Yeah.
Yeah. But it was fun. I like you mentioned about like working hard and the cardio and stuff like that. I was able to get in what I think is very, very good condition with very minimal cardio and never going below like 3,500 calories. So
Oof, you must have a really good metabolism.
I have a crazy metabolism. Like it's like I said, a week and a half post show, I'm already over 5,000 calories, 1,000 grams of carbs. So I have to eat a lot just to maintain my body weight.
Well, that's really good, dude. Well,
it's a blessing and a curse. The off season is going to be rough, but everyone has it one way or the other.
Yeah, I always tell my friends and clients it's so much easier to get shredded and diced for a show than to get huge. Dude, getting big is the real challenge. Force feeding those meals, force feeding 400, 500, 600 grams of rice. Oh,
Yeah, the days are long. And you talked about a little bit on the podcast, like your approach to making this healthier and sustainable this off season, and only like increasing your doses when you need to, when progress stalls. Can you talk a little bit more about that? How you like started with TRT and then you're like layering things in slowly?
Yeah. As I mentioned before, this is going to be my very first real bodybuilding off season. And I never used certain other compounds that my peers have used, like insulin, IGF, Anadrol, all these things that I could be using in the off season to get more growth out of myself, you know? So now that I'm a pro, I need to be huge, you know, I need to be competitive. So I'm playing one card at a time, get the maximum result from whatever I'm trying to do, and then slowly move up. Like I said, this is a 2-year plan. There's no reason to rush into a certain body weight just to look on the scale and say, hey, I'm 280, you know, but you look like not so good, you know? Um, so this is my approach, to start somewhere and taper up slowly but surely, add in the compounds the way I need to. And there's no reason to like smash different stuff all together just to get a lot of results right away. It's a lot healthier, it's a lot cheaper, and it's sustainable, dude. It's sustainable. Many pro bodybuilders won't tell you, but maybe I'll be telling you. You'll hear it from me. I personally do not like pinning. Like we like the results of the gear, but we don't necessarily love to take the gear. You see what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
So it's like I said, you need to be real with yourself, see what you can sustain. Is probably the best program. The best program you can be on is the program you can sustain, you know, for a long time, for this particular purpose. So like I said, if I break up my shots into smaller shots but longer periods of times, I can do it. If I have to shoot up 4 cc's 6 cc's every day, then that's going to be making problems, and you're going to eventually quit doing that, and then you're going to return to small dosages. So let's cut to the chase and start somewhere where you can sit at and make gains there. Honestly, I feel like the fewer things that you change, the more gains you'll make.
Yeah, that's really smart.
Yeah.
I think
if you train hard. Yeah.
Same way with food, the same way with training. Like it has to be progressive, and if you go right to the level 11 from the start, like where are you going to go from there?
Exactly. And remember, we can always push up, but when you have pushed so high up, sometimes going so low wouldn't work for you anymore. And then maybe you have to take off a fucking year off gear to resensitize your entire system to jump back on lower dosages.
Yeah, it's very smart.
Yeah, I'm just kind of like the best problem solver is to avoid the problem altogether by like preventing the problem in the future and trying to avoid it with what you can do. Yeah.
Well, I think you're being very smart. Don't let the guys on the podcast pressure you too much.
No, they won't. Thank you. No, I appreciate that, but I think they underestimate me a bit because I'm on the lighter side. They keep forgetting one major thing. Muscularity is not defined by scale weight. I think if I tell you about my friend who's 200 pounds, are you going to know? Do you know how much my friend has? How much muscle does he have? You don't know. Really. You just know his body mass.
Yeah.
But this 200 pounds could look like Flex Lewis, or this 200 pounds could be on a 6'5" person and look very skinny.
Yeah.
So they keep forgetting, not them, but in general, people think if I hit 270, that's gonna translate to a certain look like Phil Heath. But muscularity isn't measured by scale. It's measured visually. Let's take a look at you, see how muscular you are per square inch. And then we'll see your weight. Okay, this weight looks like that. We'll see when you go up what that would look like. You get what I'm saying? The scale is just a tool.
Yeah. Very smart.
So once I get to the big numbers, I posed next to Douglas. Douglas is 320.
Wow.
And he's 6'2". So none of those guys on the podcast are as big as Douglas. So if I pose next to Douglas and I look hanging my own, they don't scare me, dude. Plus Joe, who's the bigger guy, he didn't win all the shots in the overall.
Yeah, you were right there with him.
Yeah, there's many shots he lost, uh, but he didn't win all of them, and he was big then too. So sometimes kind of tells you. This is one of my beliefs, by the way. If you have squeepy quads and a small waist, right? This could be potentially not. I'm not making an excuse because this is what I have, but potentially could be beating someone who has wider waist but more muscle than you.
Yep.
So yeah, he has more muscle than you, but his midsection is wider. You
Yeah.
might be smaller than him, but the quads are more sweepy, the tiny midsection, maybe better lats. That would create the illusion of you being just as muscular, but at the same body weight.
Yeah.
Or,
I think
or
that's
less body
exactly
weight, I
what we
should say.
saw
Yeah.
in the 212 this year.
Yeah.
Obviously, Sean is a little bit shorter, so the weight isn't necessarily bigger, but he definitely has more muscle than Keon, and Keon beat him.
Yeah, that's so true. And like I said, if we had to measure Sean Clarida by his weight, then he will never win a show.
Yeah.
He's the lightest. Did you remember when he beat Sergio on Regan Grimes and he was 100 pounds lighter?
Yeah.
He made him so angry, I'm sure. But imagine 100-pound less bodybuilder shows up and beats you. That's not gonna sit so well, you know?
Yeah.
So I feel like muscle proportions and muscle insertions do a lot.
Yep.
You know, if you're round and you're light, you can get away with it. If you're not round and you're heavy, you're not going to play so well because roundness is something that judges look for. You know.
Yeah. One thing you've talked about on the podcast is smoking and how it's helped you a lot mentally. And you seem like a very balanced and very you have a very level head on your shoulders. How has that helped you with your overall mindset, and like what role does it play in your life?
I love marijuana, honestly. One of the biggest parts why I live in LA is because cannabis is legal.
Yeah. Same with New York.
It's one of those. Yeah, is it? Oh, okay, that's cool. One of the when it comes to marijuana, to be honest with you, Scott, it's totally genetic. What do I mean by that? I mean, somebody could smoke a tiny little joint and get paranoid, and they feel like the federal government is after them as a fugitive, and they get so like paranoid in a dark place, and they freak out. And somebody else could smoke the same joint and have a great time. So it all depends on how you actually tolerate the marijuana plant. If you are a guy who can smoke it and still be productive, still get your things done, still be balanced, it's a great tool, my friend. If you are somebody who's going to use marijuana and get lazy, eat a bunch of bad food because you get the munchies, and you're going to sit home doing nothing, be a couch potato, so maybe that's not the best idea for you, truly. So for me personally, I feel it gives me a newer level of focus. When I smoke, I feel I'm focused. Maybe I don't look like it, but I'm focused. You know, like when I go train, I smoke half a joint before I go train.
Wow.
And that makes me really, really focused. In combination with the pre-workout, which is basically a bunch of stimulants, caffeine, citrulline, stuff like that, it helps me get a great pump, great mind to muscle connection, and I'm alert. So personally, I've dabbled with it and it worked for me. Some people don't have that working for them. Luckily, I'm one of the individuals I can tolerate it well, so I'm gonna use it. You know, it helps me sleep when I use it before bed. It helps me focus when before I train. Helps me stay calm if I'm stressed. It helps me level out and kind of like stay put, if that makes sense. Yeah. And as a bodybuilder, let's be honest, as a bodybuilder, you can't really do many drugs or drink alcohol. So you need something in your life to take the edge off, something. I've never done recreational drugs that's outside of marijuana. I don't personally consider it a drug because, like I said, it's a tool for me. But some people, they consider it and classify it as a drug, which is fine, but not for me. And that's the only thing I'll use. I've never used anything else, honestly.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, I worked for a marijuana tech company actually in my last job. And I absolutely loved it, getting immersed in the culture and the people and everything. It's amazing how much the plant has helped so many people in so many different ways. It's really mind blowing.
It's pretty chill, dude. You never see a lot of stoners causing problems. You know what I mean? I've never heard about it. You know? Yeah. You're smoking, you're chilling, you probably have a good vibe to you. Like I said, for the people who tolerate it, you know? Yeah.
Are you able to smoke before you train legs? I guess I only use indicas, so it would be pretty hard for me to do that. But if you say it gives you focus, then that's awesome.
Yeah, I train legs all the time doing that. Yeah. I squat even heavy and stuff like that, you know? Yeah. But like I said, I don't, I want to make it clear. I don't, before training, I don't like make sure I'm smoking like as if it's nighttime.
Yeah.
I take like 4 or 5 hits of the joint, just turn the engine on, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
For the people who tolerate, they know exactly what that means. Just to turn the engine on, you'll be just okay. Like, I don't overdo it. That's the key. Like use it, but do not overuse it so you continue enjoying it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And like you said, it's genetic. Like it's totally different for different people.
Yeah. And honestly, I'm not willing to use anything else. Anything else. I would refuse to do any recreational drug out there. There's no need for it, you know? Yeah.
Yeah.
It sounds kind of hypocritical saying that someone who smokes weed doesn't want to do drugs. But if like the synthetic drugs, Molly and stuff like that, I would never do this stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And you talk a little bit about, I've heard you guys talk about this a bit on the podcast, but like the importance of having an identity outside of bodybuilding, and being like a multifaceted person, especially if bodybuilding one day gets taken away from you.
Yeah. I don't know if I was the one speaking about that, but I see your point, but maybe I'm the wrong person to ask about this because all my identity is about to be being a pro bodybuilder. Literally, that's what's my life goal since I was a teenager. And I do understand. I'm an adult. I do understand bodybuilding is not forever. That's why I'm going hardcore in my 20s, 30s, and 40s.
Yeah.
When I'm in my 50s, I'm not going to be able to be competitive. So you got to catch that ride when it's still there.
Absolutely.
You know, and that's in my belief. And you need to be smart. You need to have a retirement plan. You need to stay healthy. You need to ask yourself a lot of hard questions as you're going through bodybuilding. Do you want a family? Because if that's a yes, you need to potentially find someone who's okay with that kind of lifestyle and someone who's on the same ride as you. And I know, you know, when it comes to having kids and stuff like that, also that's a big conversation in bodybuilding because many of us are not extremely fertile doing pro bodybuilding, if you know what I mean. Because when you take stuff, it decreases your fertility. So when you come off, you need to have a plan for yourself, you know. Just be smart and also save money for your future. Bodybuilding, unlike any other sport, we don't have retirement plans or 401k and stuff like that. So you have to be smart. Use your physique, use your intelligence, use your charisma, your character to generate money while you're still in the sport. That's why, Scott, I'm a big on never burning bridges and doing bad with people, because, dude, you never know when someday you'll make a friend at a show or at the store somewhere, and this ends up being a good business venue for you 5-10 years later, which actually happened to me before. Because one time I was nice to this young kid at the grocery store. I gave him some really good advice. Literally 6-7 years later, he was able to find me through Instagram and DM me, and he was able to basically help me land a business deal with some other person who's here in Orange County, and I made some good amount of money from this person because he was a third party between us, you know. And it kind of shows you that being kind, being nice to others takes you a long way. And have a plan for yourself. Don't underestimate anyone, and just do your best on stage. That's it.
Yeah, that's really great advice and great philosophy to have. What scares you the most about bodybuilding with regards to health?
That's a really, really good question. I guess what's the scariest thing that I can think of about bodybuilding and stuff like that? Okay, if I'm
I'll
being
give you
real
mine
with you, bro.
more time to think about it.
No, I know. But
Okay.
if I want to be real with you, bro, like I know you did your first show and everything,
Yeah.
which is incredible. But by the time you get to be a pro, and I'm sure one day you will, you're gonna understand something that some days for a show, just a show, it could be a pro show, it could be the Olympia, it could be any show. Bodybuilders overtake diuretics,
Mm,
dangerous diuretics.
yeah.
You know, Demidex, all those injectable Lasix, tons of loop diuretics. This can stop your heart. I know you want to look dry for a show. I know you want to look your best. I know sometimes prize money is on the line, but this is something that sits in the back of my head rent free. Like when I'm doing shows, especially when I've done 17s already, I told you, like I always try to pay extra attention to not be stupid with the diuretics.
Yeah.
Because it's diuretics, like they can hurt you. They can hurt you, and we've seen a lot of people over the history of time in bodybuilding that got hurt and died because of diuretics. You know,
Yeah.
so that's probably my scariest part, and that's why I feel like I need to be conditioned as much as possible. Because if you're truly conditioned as much as possible, you don't really need a lot of diuretics. You need minimum and something safe, not even something dangerous. You know. So diuretics, yeah, diuretics. You need to be really knowledgeable if you use them, or at least work with someone who's really knowledgeable, because
Yeah.
this stuff is this not a joke, and this stuff potentially could hurt you. And listen, you don't want to take your own life doing diuretics. That's not a good way to go, and it makes your parents really, really miserable. You know, I always think about my parents when like stuff like that happens, you know. I always think like I would never want to make my mom feel some type of way because I was bodybuilding. You know what I mean?
Mm,
I consider that. Yeah, yeah. I want to be a winner. I also don't want to break my mom's heart. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm on the safer side when it comes to diuretics. That's all. That's what
Yeah.
I'm saying.
That's a really good answer.
Yeah.
How do your parents feel about you bodybuilding in general?
They don't like it. My dad passed away when I was 12. My
Oh,
mom raised me as a single mom. She doesn't. I'm from Syria. The Arabic culture, we don't have bodybuilding. They don't understand any of this. So it's extremely tough for me to like kind of like tell my mom, "Hey, I want to be a bodybuilder. That's what I do, and I want to pursue this as a career and a way of life." It's really hard because she wanted me to pursue that physics major and
yeah.
kind of go the academic route, which is normal. I guess all parents are like that. But you know, she's actually making me. She's actually trying to make me quit, like retire before I do
Really?
a pro show. Yeah, because she was like, you proved yourself. You're worthy. You turned pro. You showed us. You have a great physique. You're big. To her, I'm big. The rest of the podcast, I'm fucking tiny. Yeah, yeah. It's crazy how people think a different perspective. You know. And then she's like, your dream was to become a pro. Your dream was not to become an Olympian. So why won't you just retire and focus on something that's going to be more money conducive for you? And I'm hearing this stuff and I'm thinking, really, mom? After I killed myself to become a professional, now you want me to quit when I showed you I actually got potential? You know what
Yeah.
I mean? Yeah. So of course, that's not gonna change. She still respects me and supports me from far, but I don't think she's gonna be on board. Plus your mom knows like steroids and the chemical stuff that we take, how we manipulate certain things is not the healthiest things for you.
Yeah.
So about a big part of it is she's scared for me, but which makes me feel responsible, which is true. I don't want, if I had a kid, I don't want them to lose their life for a fucking sport. No offense to anyone there, but I'm just saying, I pay attention. I want to be healthier, just so I can like go into this competitive sport, have a good career, make somebody out of myself, make a brand out of myself, and depart the way Jay departed. It doesn't have to be in a body bag. It really doesn't.
Yeah.
You just got to be a little bit more logical, mature about your approach to things, especially diuretics and chemicals. You should be all right.
Yeah. I think it's healthy to have someone like that in your life, though, whether it's a parent or a significant other, someone who, even if they don't fully support you, they can offer that alternative perspective, kind of like a devil's advocate. Because, a lot of times, sometimes a good coach will really have your health interests at heart. But at the end of the day, you're paying them to coach you to be a better bodybuilder. You're not necessarily paying them to tell you when to stop or, how to be healthier. If they're a good coach, they'll have those interests at heart too. But the primary objective is to win bodybuilding shows. So I feel like it's good to have someone else in your corner who has that viewpoint too.
Yeah, but I don't think my mom applies, because if it's not something that she's familiar with, like being a doctor or being an engineer or being a whatever, it's not it's a no-go.
That's true.
Yeah. I think if I wanted to play soccer, that would have been the same thing. Let's say I wanted to play soccer, I wanted to go pro in soccer. I think her response would be the same thing. And there's a lot less danger in that, Yeah, it's just, I guess, I'm coming from a different culture. My mom grew up in the 50s. So she probably has a different mindset.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which I respect. And I tell her, Mom, that's going to be okay. She's never been to one of my shows because she lives in Dubai. Maybe one day I'll do the Dubai Pro, and then she can go there, see me compete. Yeah.
Well, it's been awesome talking to you, Zade. The time absolutely flew by. You have such unique and interesting perspectives. And for the record, I think you're massive and you're a great bodybuilder. And I'm really excited to see your progress over the next year and years to come. So yeah, where can folks find you if they want to follow you? And I'll have links in the show notes as well.
Oh, thanks. I'm on IG at IFBB Pro _Zade_King. And my profile is public, so anyone is more than welcome to hit me on my DM. And that's how the only way pretty much to contact me. My email is on there, so you can also email me if you like. And it's attached to my bio, so you'll find it there. Thank you again for the opportunity, dude. I'm sure I'll see you in the future somewhere at some shows. Or hopefully one day when I come to New York.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. Great.
Yeah,
thank you.
Thank you. Have a great rest of your day.
You too.
Thank you for listening to the show. You can find The Scott Mize Show on Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. Please leave a comment, like, review, or share the podcast with your friends or followers. It helps more people find the show.